Hey, Dr. Robin, what's it like being Simone Biles' therapist? All right, I'll tell you. Hi, I'm Dr. Robin Koslowitz, YouTube's post-traumatic parenting expert. And today we're going to talk about what therapists think about their patients, their clients, when they leave. But first, if you've ever been curious about how your therapist thinks about you when you walk out the door, click subscribe below so you never miss another episode. So first of all, psych, I am not Simone Biles' therapist, in case that wasn't clear. I'm a child psychologist, and I kind of think she's out of the age range for child psychology right now. But I will tell you what it is like to be a therapist for so many people and what it feels like to be a part of somebody's success, but you can't tell anybody about it and you're not actually there with them. So as a therapist, and yes, it's true that I don't only treat children, I do actually treat adults. I do post-traumatic parenting, and the parents of the post-traumatic parenting are generally adults. I also work with anybody who has experienced significant trauma in their life, whether they're child or former child. But what is it like to be a therapist and to be such a fundamental, integral part of someone's success, except you're not there the moment of? I can think of so many stories and so many times as a therapist where, for example, I had a patient with severe social anxiety, and we worked so hard because there was a public speaking component of her college career, and it was absolutely like you had to attempt to give the speech. There was no excuse, no matter what, or you don't get the credits. And this college was absolutely insistent on that, saying that public speaking is a life skill that everybody must develop, and there's no way out, and a note from your therapist is not going to help. Not that I would have written the note, but a note from your therapist is not going to help. You got to give the speech. And this young woman had crippling social anxiety, real fear of public speaking, and we worked on it, and we worked on it, and we worked on it, and we did exposures, first just to the concept of ever speaking in public, and then to what it would feel like to hear your own voice coming through a mic, and then to people staring at you and looking at you, until finally the day of, I knew that this was the day she was going to go give that speech. If you think that I didn't have a corner of my brain as I was going about my day, wondering how it's going, sending every good vibe I had inside my body to her and thinking about it and being part of it, of course, I wish I could be in the audience, right? Wouldn't it be amazing if I could be in the audience and watch her give that speech? But that's not my place, right? My place is behind the scenes. I know that I am an integral part of that journey, that we did this together, that I am intimately acquainted with the journey and with everything. I more than anybody in that room knows what it cost her to get up on that stage and to give that speech and how difficult it was. And yeah, would it have been wonderful to see her give it and congratulate her immediately afterwards? Of course. But that's not my job and that's not my place. And yes, the next session, when she came into session and she told me about it, and we worked on updating her brain. No, your brain told you this would be uncomfortable at a level of 5 million. And it was pretty uncomfortable. It was kind of an 8 out of 10, but you got through it and you survived and it was okay. And you passed your course and you did it and you proved to yourself, I can do hard things. That's amazing. Like what I wouldn't give to be a fly on the wall, and actually witness it. Like when a post-traumatic parent comes in and says, last night, I could have yelled at my kids. It was such a frustrating night and it was so difficult. And I really kept my cool and I self-regulated and I co-regulated with them. And the evening went the way it was supposed to go. And wow, that was awesome. Of course, I wish I could have been there. I would have loved to see it. Right? I mean, like that would be the greatest show on earth with apologies to the circus. That would have been amazing. When someone tells me I set boundaries with my toxic boss who reminds me of my toxic stepfather, and I actually told him no, and I made the no stick, and I didn't care when he got mad. I was fine. I held my ground. I stood firm. My knees were shaking and like I wanted to puke, but I held my ground and I said no, and nothing happened. I'm still employed and I didn't die. And now I've learned to say no. And you know, my inner child who couldn't stand up to my stepfather is starting to feel comforted too. Do I wish I could have been there? Oh, if that would be the Olympics, I'd buy a front row ticket. But I wasn't there because it's not my job to be there. Do I think about it though when I know that a patient is going through a crisis, or I know they're going through something challenging, and I know they're facing the fear that we've imaginally faced in psychotherapy together? Do I think about it? Of course I do. Your therapist doesn't forget about you as soon as you leave the door. Like people think like we're sitting there like counting all the money that we're making. Like they're not thinking how much of that money like goes to like rent and, you know, insurance and liability insurance and professional development. Like that's not how psychotherapy works. Psychotherapy is a relationship. It's a relationship, a healing and profound relationship with certain ethical rules and certain boundaries. It's a fiduciary relationship, right? What I get out of doing therapy is the payment, and what the patient gets out of it is the treatment. But it's also a relationship in the sense that we are part of these very important life experiences. And of course we care. And of course it matters to us. And of course we're proud when something happens, that someone overcomes a challenge. I don't do it for the sensation of pride, right? I do it for the paycheck, because if I did it for the sensation of pride, what would happen if a patient says, actually, I'm not ready to attempt that yet, right? If the only reason why I would be doing it is to be proud of her and to be proud of what a great therapist I am, then I might pressure her to do something that she's not ready to do. That's why it's a fiduciary relationship. But do I think about it? Am I proud of it? When I have a patient who had an abusive childhood who decides to be courageous enough to get married and, you know, start a family, yeah, I am thinking of them the night of that wedding. Like, of course, I'd love to be there. I have so many patients who are startled when I can't attend things. And I always say, I'm so honored. I am so honored at that invitation. Like, I'm so honored that you would want me at your wedding. I'm so honored that you want me at your graduation, that you would like me to meet your new pet dog, that you would like me at, you know, whatever party you're having, your shower, the birth of your child, whatever it is, you want me, you know, to be at that party. And it's not my place to be there. I'm with you in spirit. I am so happy to have witnessed your journey to this point, because I've witnessed it. I know just how hard it was. To your child that you didn't yell, you know, as on your post-traumatic parenting journey, and you didn't yell, it's just like my mommy being my mommy. They don't know the journey that got you to this place. I get it. I've seen it. I know it. And I'm going to rejoice with you when we talk about it. And when you say, you know, I tried, but I didn't quite get there, I'm going to feel that sensation of disappointment with you and help you process it and help you see how we can incrementally get to the place where you are there. Maybe I'm not ready to set that, you know, that boundary. I set the boundary with that toxic boss, but my stepfather, I can't quite set the boundary with him yet. And maybe we'll work incrementally towards that, because, hey, we've established that you can do hard things because you did it with the boss. So it might not be this year, but we'll get there to the point where you can set that boundary with that toxic boss. I actually had a phone call from a kid that I worked with actually when I was a school psychologist. And this child had a lot of phobias, and one of them was like small spaces, like sort of an agoraphobia. You know, it was a fear of, you know, it was actually interesting. It was a fear of very big spaces, like being outdoors with no walls around, and a fear of very small, cramped spaces. So that was like an interesting thing, because spaces had to be just right. It was like a Goldilocks monster in her brain before she was comfortable. And we happened to meet, and I haven't seen her, you know, I didn't recognize her actually, because the last time I saw her, she was this adorable third grader, and now she's an adult. And she told me that when she got her job, which is a very high-powered job in a very high-rise building, and she takes an elevator every day to her office on the, I don't know what, I'm making it up, you know, 50th floor. The first time she got the job and she had to, you know, take the elevator up, she thought, I bet Dr. K, that's what the kids used to call me, would be so proud of me. And then she met me, and she came over to tell me, like, you know, this story, and I asked her if I could share this story on YouTube, and she said, sure. But that thought went through her head, like, Dr. K would be so proud, like, like I can get into elevators, no sweat now. So of course we love being part of that journey. And we also, that doesn't mean that you have to only bring successes into your therapist. Sometimes you're going to come to your therapist with a crushing disappointment, a crushing defeat, something that you're having a hard time processing. And that's part of therapy too. But if you want to know, do we care? Do you want to know what it's like to be Simone Biles' therapist? Knowing that the work you did with her helped her be able to crush it and helped her be able to overcome whatever fear she had, whatever anxieties she had, and get out there and, be the inspiration she is. It feels wonderful, but it also feels like it's not our place to actually be there. It's not our place to actually be a part of it. It's our place to be the person you talk about it afterwards. So if you were ever wondering, like, does my therapist think about me between sessions? Does my therapist care? Like, I'm sharing all this exciting news and she's acting happy, but who says she even cares? Or I'm sharing this disappointment, but does it even bother her? Yes, it is a relationship. It's a fiduciary relationship, but it's a relationship. Of course we care. We care about each and every person that we meet. Like I said, I may not recognize you because certainly since I do work with a lot of children, I won't recognize a former third grader when she's 27 because people change and I'm not good with names and faces even at the best of times. But I'll remember your story and I will always, always, always care because that's what the journey of therapy is. The journey of therapy is two humans figuring this out together, and one human who is setting the stage for healing and one human who's courageously actually doing the work. And together that makes something incredible. So if you're a post-traumatic parent and you've ever thought, I wonder if my therapist cares, and this video was helpful, if you agree, if you disagree, if you have follow-up questions, if you want to take me to task for the trick I played on you at the beginning of this episode, please comment below and let me know. If you have a friend who belongs in the post-traumatic parenting community, send them this video, comment below, tag them, let me know what you're thinking. I do shoot videos in response to the questions people ask. As always, if you want to hang out where your fellow post-traumatic parents hang out, check out at Dr. Koslowitz Psychology on Instagram. If you want to read my writing on parenting and trauma and psychotherapy, check out the Targeted Parenting blog on Psychology Today. The Post-Traumatic Parenting podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts. And of course, the Post-Traumatic Parenting book is forthcoming from Broadleaf in 2025. So you can look for it. There will be a pre-order link on my website, drrobinkoslowitz.com. Till next time.